Now, so Glenn's the founding director of Platform Advisors, a firm specialising in accounting, taxation and business advisory services, and you'll go to St Matt's Anglican Church in Prahran. And Dan is also an accountant, experiencing in public practice accounting firms and also small to medium enterprises, and is the managing partner of Spire Business Services and attends Discovery Church in Mount Evelyn. But our story actually begins way back in 2005, about 15 years ago, when, Glenn, you were running your own accounting business. It's been your career in suburban Melbourne. Now, you actually employed Dan. So, Glenn, can you tell us, why did you want to employ him?
The first thing I can say about Dan is he wasn't a psychopath at the interview, so it was a good start.
Well, that was at the interview, was it? That's right, yeah. You don't work together now, though. Yeah, so, okay, sorry.
Dan and I met when I interviewed him. I was impressed by Dan's personality, really. He had a great sense of being able to communicate at the interview, and I thought he had a gentleness that would work well within our firm, and so I offered him the job, and it was a good thing to do.
Was it because he lived close to the office or something? Was that right? Was it?
That did help, and we didn't have to pay for parking for him.
That's right. So. You could get your pound of flesh from him as well. So, Dan, how did you feel at this stage? You'd interviewed, and then how did you feel about the prospect of working for Glenn?
I was pretty excited. I didn't know Glenn at all at the time. The firm I was working for at the time really lacked God, and it really came out. You can really see the way a company behaves at their Christmas party. And just the things that were happening there I wasn't really happy with, and just the way I was treated as well. So I think anything was a positive move away from that.
Okay.
But I had no idea what I was coming into with Glenn. So.
Okay, you had no idea what to expect. So Glenn, so then how do you then do you treat your staff? So you've got Dan's a new employee. What's your philosophy about treating staff?
Well, first of all, I think it's an incredible privilege when you're leading any business and when you have the responsibility of employing people. And in the way I think about staff is I think about staff on the level that everybody has something fantastic to contribute. Mm-hmm. So we start with the position of the body of Christ, really, and in that we say that what is it about this person that's special, and once you discover that and you discover their contribution, it's something that I really work hard to encourage. And
so you're really looking for the gifts of the people that you employ around you.
Absolutely.
Try to foster that.
And so we've in doing that, it's really about encouraging and really seeing each person as God sees them. And I've got to say, the starting point with all this and employing people is to pray.
So that's something you do before an employment decision?
Absolutely. And it's something I do for my team most days.
Right, okay, yeah. So is that what's driving you then in your decisions in your workplace, or particularly your employment decisions about?
The decisions I make in the workplace are about, first of all, being a professional and serving our clients. It's a fantastic thing being in public practice because you're generally engaged to assist in providing tax and accounting and
all that fun stuff.
All the fun stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
But what really happens is that you get engaged in people's lives, and particularly those who are in business, because like my own journey, being in business sometimes can be incredibly lonely and incredibly challenging at many levels. And so to walk alongside your clients in that is truly a privilege.
Mm-hmm. So Dan, you're about to start working with Glenn. So what was life like for you at that time?
Life wasn't bad, but it wasn't. Wasn't off the rails. But I think my priorities weren't in the right spot in the way I spent my money, the way I spent my time. And I wasn't very outward focused as well. It was pretty much all about me. And so, and at the time I was when I started working with Glenn, I was seeing a girl that I thought was the right person for me, and then we broke up not long after I started with Glenn. I thought it was the end of the world, but now I realise that I'm glad it happened.
We had to increase the staff amenities tissues.
Okay, right. So,
Internal counselling.
so then what happened? So tell us the story, Glenn. What happened then? The story with... so this is... Feels a little bit like Married at First Sight in some ways, but it's some sort of bromance or something. So come on, we can cry. We can be close. We can be intimate. That's right. Yeah.
I made
So tell us your story. Tell us the story. Tell us the story, Glenn.
As I said before, I like to get to know the staff and I like to get to know what makes them tick. And getting to know Dan was actually fairly easy. He's a guy who's got a lot of openness and a huge heart. And I knew that I sensed in Dan that he actually was open for something different in his life. So
what gave you that sense that something was different?
Yeah.
That he was open to something different.
Yeah. So I think it was his response to some of the things that we were doing at work. One of the things that we were engaged with was to work with an organisation. Many of you will know the Oak Tree Foundation. As they started off, and we were supporting Oak Tree as they developed, and we were doing the pro bono accounting work for it. And Dan volunteered to go along and do that work, and that immediately said to me that Dan was open to a sense of serving, and that was something that gave me a clue.
Was that what you were thinking, Dan?
Yeah, well,
Or were you just trying to please the boss?
I think it started out trying to please the boss, and I think I didn't know. I thought I wasn't overly open to it, but I did it. But then I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
And realised that there is more out there than and it's great giving back.
So when you say there's more out there, what do you mean by that?
More out there than trying to boost your career and trying to boost your bank account.
So you were exposed to this idea by just the fact of serving, of trying to do something beyond yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Glenn, so what happened after that? You got this sense that Dan was open to something more?
So over time, and this is about building a relationship of trust and trust on both sides, really. I think what happened one day, and I'd probably spoken to Dan about my faith, and one day we were on the road and we had to stop by down at Docklands where Guy and Vanessa Mason were just making home in a unit down at Docklands, and I had to call in to see.
So Guy Mason's the pastor of City on a Hill Church here in Melbourne.
They hadn't started at that stage, and I had Dan with me, and I knew Dan had come from a Roman Catholic background where he'd had an understanding of church in a certain way, and he came along to me to meet Guy and Vanessa, and I think he was sort of blown away by, this is not a priest.
So how did that conversation come up? So how did you feel at that point, Dan? So you're with your boss, you're going on a work assignment, and suddenly you're meeting this pastor of this cult or church or whatever it is. How did you feel at that point?
I think I didn't know. Again, I didn't know. I didn't know what to expect, but I was blown away with just how relaxed and how nice they were. And then I remember talking to Guy and him saying he's starting a church down in that pub down there, and we could see it from up at the apartment. And I just didn't think it would take off, but obviously. Right. And that was.
You don't do business advisory services.
No, I do.
We won't
I've learned a lot from that.
That's right. Yeah.
But I think that was my background of a church needs to be in this big, my Catholic background of what a church is, and I just it really opened my eyes up to.
So what made you want to explore though?
I don't know whether it's from there that I wanted to explore it. I think what happened is that I saw a difference in Glenn, that how relational he was, wanting to build relationships with his clients and staff, and like I said, just how he held firm to his values as well when choosing clients. And I just saw that difference, and then I just wanted to, I think Glenn may have taken me along to church, and then I saw the difference in that church as well. And
I think my memory of it, Dan, is that I was at St Matt's where I am now, and I was actually a little bit nervous about taking you to St Matt's as the first place, because I thought it might look a little bit too much like the church you'd come from.
So you'd actually invited him to church?
And so I invited Dan to come along to City on a Hill, in fact, where I didn't go.
Well, you didn't go. So you invited him to a church you didn't go to.
But I knew they served beer, and I thought, well, that was a bit of a way in. So he's not a big beer drinker. And but it wasn't long until I had the guts, I think, to say to Dan, come along to St Matt's, where my community is.
Yeah.
And I was so thrilled that when I went there, that people actually got alongside Dan and spoke to him pretty quickly, and he grew some friendships pretty quickly, some of whom are here tonight.
Yeah, and I think in one word, it's authenticity. That's what
really
out to
struck
me.
you.
Yeah, the authenticity of Glenn, of the people I met. It really struck me.
And that was different from what you'd encountered in other people and other relationships that you'd seen.
Yeah, different what I've encountered in I guess church life growing up, and different in what I encountered in then work as well, in a workplace.
Mm. And so that prompted you then to explore more in terms of the Christian faith.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And so what happened after that? You went along to church. You kind of liked it.
I liked it. I then got invited to a Bible study, which took me a long time to go along to, and I kept chickening out going. And then I went along, and the first night I went along, there were two highly intellectual people debating something that I was just like blown away, and I thought, I don't know whether I want to be here. And then, I built up the courage to go again, and it was, I built some really strong friendships out of that, and it just got stronger and stronger. So.
Yeah. And so then ultimately you decided this was going to be something for you.
Yes.
The Christian faith.
Yes.
Yeah. So Glenn, did you consider yourself an evangelist in this process? Inviting your employee along to church or meeting a pastor of a church in the city?
No, I don't think I did, Rob. I think I consider myself somebody who could extend friendship, and it's at that level that my love for Daniel really was extended, and wanting to see him come into the community that I belong to, and certainly into relationship with Christ. So it certainly wasn't out of a sense of calling as an evangelist, but certainly I see being in public practice, being an employer, just an amazing opportunity to just share the gospel through what I do.
Yeah. So you wouldn't necessarily consider yourself an evangelist, but you take advantage of the opportunities as they arise.
Absolutely, and there's many opportunities that arise. Yeah.
Now, Dan, are you glad that Glenn made an effort to share the Christian faith with you way back in the course of your relationship?
Absolutely, it's changed my life. I'm married to a great Christian girl, and we have who's sitting right over there.
That is right. Just making sure.
Yeah. And we've got two great kids who we're raising in a Christian home, and I think, and I also just over the years, I think back of the challenges I've had in both personal life and work life, and I just don't know how I would have gotten through it without my faith. I think it's really saved me. So yeah, and I think I said it the other day. Nothing consolidates your faith more than seeing your 4-year-old girl sing at church and praise the Lord.
And that may not have happened if you'd not worked with Glenn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So how's Glenn's example then shaped your life?
Well, I think it's changed, like I said earlier, it's changed me from being focused on my little world to focusing on the greater world, and what, I guess, the importance of, like what Catherine said, I call them 1%ers, what Catherine was saying, like saying the thank yous and the please and the sorry, and I think it's the other thing is, I think it's the greater focus on. I've got a great my focus, and our family focus is the fruits of the Spirit, and I think that's what's changed in me. So
yeah, terrific. Please thank Glenn Scott and Dan Vicino for sharing their story tonight.